What's up, world travelers? This is Judge Mentalist coming at you with another episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Today, we've got a fun interview for you that I was supposed to be a part of, but certain things in my life, which is totally my doing, threw me for a little bit of a loop. So I am here for the intro. Then I get to share the interview with you. And yeah, Big Sexy, your digital nomad's in and on it. So here he is.
What's up? Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. Yes. You were supposed to be a whole part of this interview. It was going to be like one of our good old fashioned guest episodes.
We have worked hard to line these up, and then you made it happen, and then I screwed it up. So
yeah. Well, you know what? I'll say you didn't screw it up because not all of it was completely under your control. Right.
I will say that you're partially right. However, I don't know how much you want to get into this now versus
we can get into it now. We're
just going to do it here. We're just going to do it here because there's no reason to not.
Look, the listeners want to know what kind of shenanigans you have gotten into that caused you to not be able to experience our interview live and in person.
Okay, so everybody that's been listening for the duration of the 50-some episodes that we've been doing this, the year that we've been doing this now, we are at a year.
This is our birthday episode. I meant to pull up a birthday song drop for the intro, and I didn't. So there.
That's all right. Well, what we'll do is we'll calculate when we got that intro and then do a birthday song 1 year from that date. Because remember, the first handful of episodes, we were just kind of flying dark.
We really were, for real.
So around the time that we started this whole thing, I was in the process of buying a new house. And one of the features of that new house was a 800 or so square foot area above the garage. That at the time that we purchased the house, and still to this day, unfinished, but will be perfect place for a very small, intimate theater venue for me to do private events, whatever that may look like. So
get the swings up there, the Red Crosses, the Iron Maidens, the dungeon straps.
No, that's basement stuff.
Oh, right. You said attic. You said
just different performance, different type of performance. So there's an idea. Back to the drawing board. So this whole thing has been a process. We've gotten other parts of the house done. We've done some outside stuff. We had a hot tub put in, all of the patio pavers and stuff to make that look decent.
Casa de Bowers, it sounds like the place to be.
I mean, RJ will tell you that it's an estate. I don't know that I go that far in my description of it, but whatever.
Right.
So what we're looking at with respect to this thing is a year in the making of dealing with permits, dealing with contractors, doing this, doing that, needing to get things inspected, having framing stuff and electrical stuff and insulation done. And now we're at the point where drywall is being delivered.
Right.
And the biggest problem with this, the pros and cons to this, and this can be some insight for anybody who's considering tackling a project like this. When you hire a contractor to do the entire job, you pay a highly inflated amount of money. And a big chunk of that is for somebody who's kind of the middleman to a whole bunch of subcontractors. There's not somebody that's really going to come in and do everything soups and nuts. He's going to design the project, make sure it all goes well. He will hire, or she will hire, the electrician, the drywall people, the flooring people, et cetera, et cetera. So you pay a premium for the quarterback, so to speak, for those of you who understand the sports balls and like the person that kind of puts all this stuff together and makes sure it all goes smoothly and finishes at the same time. So I've had mixed experiences with that, and me cutting that person out for this project was less about the money and more about they're just a nightmare to deal with.
Right.
However, when you take on that role, you potentially have like 12 nightmares to deal with because the subcontractors are no better than the contractors in the first place.
Right.
You
And
just
less organized because they're just trying to do the work.
right. And when you're dealing with that, at least you're only complaining to one person, that contractor, that, somebody else might be dropping the ball, but it's on that person's shoulders.
Right.
So it's definitely taken longer than we've wanted it to. And yesterday, and you'll see video of this shortly in the Patreon. So go to bullwithabutthole.com, drop a big old $1 because that's all it costs to get into that mix. And yeah, girl. Soon video of this truck. Well, number one, I do a walkthrough video of the event space, completely down to the studs and insulation, but kind of an idea, give you a walkthrough of what it's going to look like.
You got studs in there? You sure it's not a dungeon? It sounded more and more like a dungeon. I'm just saying.
Well, basement. We'll walk through that, and the first video that I'll put up there ends with the truck rolling up, the big ass truck with all this drywall on it. So we took the windows out because we're getting 2 spaces finished. One is this event space, which is above the garage. The other is our attic. So the 3rd floor of the house. It's like a colonial style. So, slanted roofs for those who aren't familiar with what that means. But big open space. Like there'll be a quote unquote office that may or may not have a bed in it for out of town guests. There'll be a bathroom and then a big kind of recreational space, living room, TV, video games, stuff like that. So up on this big boom truck, and the second video that I have to put in there is that boom truck attempting to lift a big stack of drywall up and through one of these windows. It definitely got better, but boy, it started out rough. Like the number of times that those first 2 stacks came up to the window, then went back down to the truck, and then up to the window and down to the truck. I swear I feel like it was this guy's first day operating this truck.
Right. The guy who normally operates the truck was sick.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine you need a CDL or some sort of special qualification to run this monster. Again, you'll see the video on the Patreon.
I'm sure the guy he's been waiting on the benches. He got his license, and then they've only used him as secondary help, and finally the main driver's sick. He's like, now's my chance. Now's my time. Where are we going? What are we doing? Oh, power through a window. I got this. I can do drywall through a window. That's gonna be easy.
So yeah, it started out real rough. So I'm there with my drywall guy because what happens is that they poke these things, the stack through the window, and then we got to pull off all the individual sheets and put it somewhere within the room. Plus, it's
and you say we, are you helping with this?
Oh yeah. I'm feeling the pain right now. By the way, yeah. So this is a job that, when booked for 9 a.m. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours before our scheduled recording time,
right,
for the guest, I was told would take no more than 2 hours.
Right. So you even gave us a 2-hour window.
Right.
To make sure, in case anything happened, you'd still be able to join.
And let's just say, from evidence from what you guys are about to hear, we didn't hit that window. We didn't hit close to that window. In fact, absolutely. Wasn't free from this task until after our normal recording time. Probably would have, had I just jumped into the normal recording time, I wouldn't have even made it till midway through the episode, normal recording time. So another basically 2 more hours on top of that. So yeah, that was like I said, as it got going, those first two stacks were like, gosh, are we even getting? Is this even going to happen?
Right.
Um, After that, I think the guy caught his stride. And the other complicated matter to this, which was not super complex, but like when I put the order in, I sent exactly what my drywall guy sent me, which was the breakdown of the different types of sheets and quantities for two separate rooms.
Right.
So technically, this should have shown up as two separate divided orders on the truck. Of course, it didn't. It
Nope.
was just
All put
kind,
together.
stacks of another kind, stacks of another kind. So we're in there doing the math of do we have enough sheets before the rest of it goes in through the other window. Two different windows, two different floors, not something that would have made any sort of sense to pull it all into one and then walk it to the other, because no.
Right.
So that was yesterday. It was a little bit of a nightmare for me. Through
Yeah,
it,
it didn't
all
sound like
worked
a
out
whole lot of
well.
fun.
In fact, that was the morning, and by like 5 o'clock, I'm getting a phone call from my drywall guy, because all we did was unload it, and he was supposed to be calling me to say, to give me a ballpark idea of when his guy was going to be able to get there and start hanging stuff. I get a call a little after 5 or a little after 4, somewhere between 4 and 5. Hey, are you home? My hanger's on his way to your house. He wants to get started tonight. So I wasn't, but somebody else was, got him in. And I walked back in there, and like that quote unquote office / not bedroom, because of
It's not a
reasons.
bedroom, right?
I think he had hung like 60% of the boards in that room.
By
Day
himself?
one.
He
I
had
guess.
people, right?
No, I wasn't there, but
Oh.
didn't waste any time. Worked in there, got to work.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
good.
that was yesterday for me. Again, check out the Patreon, because you'll start seeing some videos. I got 2 videos that I'm going to post of this monstrosity of a truck, and the first one, like I said, walks through the unfinished space, so you can kind of see really behind the scenes where this thing has started. And as I continue to update these things, you'll get to see the progression of it.
That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see the progression of it from start to finish. I'm really looking forward to seeing that kind of stuff. With me being in multiple different backgrounds every time you do, every time we get an upgrade.
And let me tell you, if you've never seen one of these trucks, holy crap, it's a monstrosity.
Yeah,
It's an absolute,
and it's
absolute
really interesting when you see it, because you see them a lot of time in construction sites,
yeah.
right? If you're driving by a construction site, if you're in a place like Las Vegas that never finishes building shit, you see them all over. But it's much different when you see them in somebody's yard.
Absolutely.
Next just to a house.
Yeah, so that was a bit of an adventure.
Well, I'll tell you what, you missed a great interview. It wasn't too long, because our guest did have to kind of cut and run early. I could have talked with them for ages. We share nerd stuff, right? Especially in the Marvel. She's a lot younger than me, so she was relatively new to it. But I purposely refrained from slipping into teacher mode and talking and gearing stuff. But I did have conversations about. Unlike a lot of our guests, she isn't as widely traveled as a lot of our other guests. I mean, this being mainly a travel podcast, if folks may wonder why I had this person on. But the simple answer to that is I like to have my friends on my podcast.
Absolutely, nothing wrong with that.
And everybody has a good story. Everybody has good stories to tell, and she definitely has some really awesome stories to tell. Plus, I created everybody. Well, let me wind that back. I'm a poet, and I've written several hundreds of poems. And I recently had one kind of take off. It was a few years ago with the after George Floyd was murdered and that whole uprising. I wrote a poem about it called "Closed," and I really liked it. And of course, my when I was working at the complaints department, this was back before they got all super corporate, and I was a part of different committees, and they wanted me to read it for a townhouse meeting. So I read it, and that got a lot of traction, and people really dug it. And so I always wanted to do something with it, and so I was just talking to my guest, and they are a video editor, and although how cool would it be to get like images and things of that nature and put that with, over the background of this poem that I did and have it, be very meaningful. And so she did, and it was amazing. The work is amazing. But during the process, it hit me that I'm asking, I think she may be 24, 25, a 25-year-old white girl from Southern California to do video editing work for a poem about the Black Lives Matter movement. And really heavy topic for our very first project together.
Right.
I said, well, we went out to get running, and you knocked it out the park. So I promised her that the next poems that I go do, the next projects that we do, will be much more lighthearted and fun and funny, especially since what got me connected to her was her humor, her sense of humor, especially with her editing. And then I said, well, you know what? Let's not do a humorous project. Let's do a very serious project. So yeah, but again, she performed under pressure of it and really, really went well. And so, I wanted to sit down and talk with her, and it was really cool. The first time that her and I have talked virtually face to face. Everything has been like through Twitter Messenger or whatever, or X Messenger.
Whatever it's called this week.
Whatever it's called now, yeah. We started chatting and really spoke back and forth there. But this is the first time her and I had that kind of quote unquote face to face conversation, and I really had a blast, and I can't wait to chat with her again and work on these other projects. For the listeners, you're going to hear a wonderful interview with her and I, and then stay tuned after the outro. I will add the poem that I put up for me reading the poem that she did. And if you're a Patreon member, then you'll actually get to see the video she created for me that she did for the project. You actually get to see the video. It'll go on Patreon before I drop it anywhere else. I'll save it for this episode. It's funny, we're talking, I'm trying to figure out when I can drop this video that she did. I was going to drop it on my birthday, and then I forgot because I was in Romania at a spa, so dropping poetry videos wasn't on my top list of activities to do and go through. But so if you're a listener, you'll hear the poem, and if you're a Patreon member, stay tuned. You'll actually see the video that she put together.
Sweet. Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Take care, and we'll come back after the interview, and we'll talk some more stuff. All right, y'all. Enjoy. Oh, I should probably say the person's name. This is my friend Alexa. Interview. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad Interviews. Today, I have a personal treat. This one is a personal treat for myself. We went back in the day. I think maybe even during the pandemic, or pretty close around then. I started watching a whole lot of YouTube videos, especially around the nerd. Y'all know that I'm a really big nerd. And I started watching this channel called New Rockstars. And there were, shout out to New Rockstars. And there were all these cool hosts. I'm going to say shout out to MT, shout out to Whitney, shout out to Anna, who did these fun videos. Shout out to Brandon Barrick, talking about nerdy projects, Marvel stuff, Star Wars stuff, DC stuff, all that kind of stuff. And as I'm watching these videos, I keep notice that I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing at what the hosts are saying. I am laughing at the little side comments that keep popping up, or the cuts in between what they're talking about versus some image that is put up on the board or some phrase that is put up on the screen during the video, and those are cracking me up. And for the first time, I was curious about who was actually editing these videos. People, do you know how hard it is to find an editor of a YouTube video of a nerd channel where they really just don't list it out right? Thank goodness on one of the videos, the editor in question did a comment and said, "Note from the editor," and in parentheses had their name, which began my search. Great, perfect, wonderful. You always start off, you go to Twitter, found them on Twitter. Perfect. Started communicating back and forth. Praises for her work. She's amazing. And then I had the idea of doing a video project for my poetry. And you guys may have heard me talk about it. A lot of stuff on my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel, Who is Big Sexy, a lot of poems and stuff. But I want to do a video for one of my poems. And this person agreed to help me out. The work is amazing. And I'm gonna, if you're a Patreon member, you'll get to see the video at the end of this interview, of this episode. It's going to be tagged on to the end of this video. So I hope you guys enjoy the work and appreciate it as much as I did. But right now, I want y'all to say hello and welcome to Alexa.
Hi, you're hyping
Hello,
me up.
Alexa.
My ego's this big now.
Well, it's worth every single bit of the hype. Yeah, it's rare that I watch something that makes me want to do deeper research on it outside of the topic that they're talking about, right? Like a lot of times, especially around the Marvel stuff or whatever, I'll start doing a deep dive on the comic book they mentioned or a movie that another actor is in. I'll research that and look it up. This is one of the very first times that I ever went, I need to know who edits this. And I'll tell you what it reminds me of is when I would go to watch a lot of movies, there was a sound editor or a sound person, and her name is Mo Henry. And the only reason I recognize that name is because I'm a credit watcher, right? So like at the end of a movie, I watch the credit. I watch all the credits because I'm a firm believer that every name I'm seeing on the list put hard work in to make this product that I'm watching, right? And this moment from when their name appears on the bottom of the screen to the goes to the top of the screen is their shining moment. It's their one moment they get in the whole thing that they get to be recognized for the work they did. So I sit through the credits. I tell people, we come to a movie, I'm not here for the end credits, right? People think that you're waiting for an end credit. No. I'm here for the credits. I'm here to see the names. And I make fun of the names and I laugh at the long names. I trip on the really super long non-American names that, also work on all these movies or whatever. Sometimes I go, man, I wish my name was Jack Dickhammer or whatever it is. But always after the music, there were like four, like right under the end titles credit. And one other thing was a sound credit, and it was Mo Henry, and it was Mo. And I used to go, whenever it came up, I'd go, hey, Mo. Right. And, I love movies. So I would go to enough movies and I'd see the movie. I go,
Hey, Mo.
I'm saying, hey, Mo a lot. Who is Mo Henry? They work hard. They do a lot of work on these movies that I love. So I did a little deep dive, and doing a deep dive for you reminded me of that. So tell my listeners, let's start at the beginning, where you're from, who are you, how'd you get to be where you are?
I'm Alexa. I'm 25. I live in California, born and raised. I love it here. I'll never be leaving for multiple reasons. I will pay the extremely high rent to avoid hurricanes and giant spiders and humidity and all that stuff. So if you're ever looking for me, I'm within the state of California.
Nice.
And so since high school, I've always done like editing as a hobby. Like my very first editing, if you go to my YouTube channel, there are edits from like, what would it be, like 2013 or 2014 of like One Direction, because I was like one of those crazy One Direction fans. And I only ever did like, I enjoyed it, but it was never like, oh, I would like to do this as a job. Not a single thought in my mind. It was always just for fun. And then I went off to college and I studied psychology at San Diego State. I came back and I started editing again, but again, just for fun. Like I really enjoyed it. And I found that I was like really good at it. And so now in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I could do this for a career, but like also I like routine. I like security and getting a paycheck at the end of the week. Like if I work project based, you're not necessarily going to have like a stable income, and how hard it is to get into the industry. Like you hear about all these people who, they pay tens of thousands of dollars for film school and they still struggle to get a job, or like you have to go through unpaid internships and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, I'm not willing to do that. Like I'm good just doing it for fun. Like, so I'm just going to continue doing it for fun. And so at the time I was working in higher education, and then the pandemic happened, and at that higher education job, they knew how much I liked editing. So they would like throw me like little side projects of like, oh, you want to make this for the student portal? Like you want to, so they even upgraded my computer to an editing computer. So when the pandemic happened, so when the pandemic happened, I got to bring that computer home, and off the clock, I could use that editing computer. So now I had a stronger computer to do my editing, like, cause my other computer was just a laptop, was not meant for editing, completely fried it. And so, that's when I started like really editing. I would spend hours and hours, but again, it was not for any intention of making it a career. It was, I was enjoying it. I was having fun, and I was happy with all the products that were coming out. And so there's one edit that I made and I posted it on TikTok, and I'm a person that likes validation. So when all the comments come in and the likes and like, oh, this is great, like that's amazing. This is one of the edits that I posted that has gotten like the most engagement on it. And I just got a message on Instagram one day, and it was from a guy named John Costa. He's a producer at New Rockstars. He used to be the post-production supervisor, but now
John Costa.
Yeah. He messaged
Don't worry. If we start mentioning people from New Rockstars, I'm going to say their name like I know them. I don't. But I'll say it like I do because I watch enough videos that I feel like I do.
Yeah. So he messaged me on Instagram and he was like, hey, like I work with a YouTube channel called New Rockstars. Like I saw your edit on TikTok. Are you interested in working with us? And at the time, I think I had seen a couple New Rockstars videos. And when I checked the channel, I sent it over to my friend who like had religiously watched Eric's breakdowns of WandaVision. And she's like, you have to take it. I don't care if you don't want it. You take it for me. And so it was, regardless of what she said, I would have taken it because like, yeah, I just got handed this job when a lot of people in the industry like have to fight for a job and like struggle. And it was just handed to me. I wasn't even looking for it. So I was so grateful for that opportunity. And since then I've been editing for New Rockstar's YouTube channel. I did some YouTube shorts for them, although we're not doing those anymore. Those are fun. And so, yeah, that's how I am where I am today in my career. So, yeah.
that is amazing and awesome. And so yeah, like I said, followers, I was also watching New Rock Stars and watching the shows, and like I said I would watch. They had a series called Big Question, where they'd ask some question about some nerd project, and I kept going. That this editing is amazing. Like this is hilarious. So yeah, big ups. I can understand why they reached out, right? And what you need to do is you have to send me that video. Send me a link to that video on TikTok, and I'll add it to the summary here and there, so our listeners, can go check that out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so now you're with New Rock Stars, and well, first off, let's back up a little bit, because you keep saying you don't want to leave California ever.
Oh yeah, this is traveling podcast.
I will. Yes, and I will argue that while California is wonderful and amazing in certain aspects, people also know that I hate California. Like I love the people there, right? I love the beaches. I love the theme parks. So it's a love-hate relationship that I have with the city of Oranges and the Orange State. And but I will ask you, have you ever been to the southern part of Spain?
I have not. The only times I've been out of the country were to Mexico and Canada. So like when you sent me that doc, I was like thinking about what are my travel experiences, and I was like, shit, like I've only ever been like to North America. Like I wish I had more to share on travel experiences, but that's the extent of how much I've traveled.
Oh, believe me, before I got married, and my honeymoon was to Italy and Greece, same, and I got married in like 6 years ago, right? So up to 6 years ago, I had only been to Mexico and Canada. I've been to Canada twice, and I've been to Mexico a bunch because I love cruising. I'm a big cruiser, and so I would do the little 3-day or 5-day from Long Beach over to Catalina, then down to Ensenada, and then back up San Diego, and then back up to Long Beach. I love that cruise. I did that quite a few times. And then I've been to Hawaii, which isn't on the mainland, so it counted as my trip, even though it's a state. It's not. While it's officially a state, it doesn't feel shit like the United States at all.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's fine. And I knew that I had a feeling when I had you on the guest. I went, well, I'm not asking her to be on the show because I know that she's traveled a lot. Right, a lot of the guests I have on the show, I know they travel. Right, I met them. The first start of this interview series was people that I met on a cruise ship. Well, by default, we're all all travelers on a cruise ship. And I said, no, I want to have Alexa on because I want one, if she has traveled, great, we'll have some fun stories to talk about. But if she hasn't, I will convince her to. And then when we do this again in a few 30 to 40 episodes, we'll have like, yeah, I did this. I went this, babe, you told me to go here, and I checked this out, and I went here, and it was amazing. And so that's my goal, right? I want listeners to also know that there's somebody like them who may not have traveled that can still talk about it and dream and hopes, whatever.
Yeah.
Because when we're talking before we got on air, before I started recording, you were mentioning like, the East Coast has giant bugs, and they do. I wouldn't want to live there. And then you said Australia that has giant spiders that'll kill you. Like there's too many animals in Australia that want to kill you.
Yeah.
that makes sense. Right. But my initial thought was, but there's so many other places in the world. Right. Yeah. Where I think you would absolutely, well, not yet, because you have a lot of roots and ties to California, right? So there's a lot of safety and comfort and familiarity there. So, but beforehand, I recommend travel. Go see these places. Now you said you've been to Mexico and Canada. Whereabouts in those places have you been?
So I actually have been to Ensenada, also in Mexico. It was in high school for a mission trip, so it wasn't even like a vacation. It was we went to like an orphanage and worked with the kids and stuff. And then I actually have family in Canada, so I've only also been there once. We flew into Toronto, and then we went to a town called Listowel, and it's like it's a farm like town, and so we got to go see the cows, and we saw the cats that hang out with the cows, and we got to see, it's very different than the suburban life that me and my family have here in Southern California, where we're all stacked on top of each other. Like there's so many people within like a neighborhood, and it's all spread out up there in the rural country. And then we went to Lake Charleston, and it was fun. And again, I would like to travel, and I would like to go back there as well. It's just like expensive. So,
right. That's the other thing. Travel, especially recently, the cost has gone up. So it's not as easy to get out and get places. Have you ever been to British Columbia? No, you've only been to that part of Canada, Toronto. I love this. I get to recommend places you should go. That'll be easy for you to get to, because you're a West Coast girl, right? So one of the most amazing trips I ever took was back in 2000. We did a road trip from California through a lot of the states in the Southwest, all the way up, and then ended up driving up to British Columbia, Vancouver. And then we drove straight back down, right through Washington, Oregon, and then straight down California. So do you like to travel alone, or do you like to travel with people?
With people, for sure.
Right. So what I recommend doing is get a group of friends or family members, rent a car, and do that drive up the coast all the way up into Vancouver. Right. Take like 5 days, 6 days if you can. Right. And then just make a nice little road trip. You will love it. I think you would absolutely love it.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. And then you'll get you'll get a deeper appreciation for California.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you don't like cold.
I mean, gonna have to deal with it at some point.
Right, exactly. And you said, what part of Mexico was the mission in, or the missionary trip?
It was Ensenada.
Oh, Ensenada.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever cruised?
No, I have never done that, and I'm kind of terrified to do that. Like, I don't know what it is about being on a big giant metal tube in the ocean, but I'm sure it's safer than I think it is.
Yes. See, the big part of me that goes, okay, I need to go back to California. I need to grab Alexa. I need to get her on a Carnival cruise, do the 3-day to Ensenada. She's been there before, so she'll recognize the place. And then, because I had the same trepidation when I was younger about going on a cruise. My mom introduced me to cruising, and I'm on, you're big on the water, and I had seen movies like Poseidon, and I heard about the Titanic and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to be stuck out there and what have you. And I tell you what, I cruised one time, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever gone on. And I love the concept, right? If you travel someplace, you go to a hotel, you get a room, you see the site, you go out and see the sites, and you have to go back to that same hotel. And then when you wake up the next day, you go back into the same area and hopefully see new sites, right? And then you go back to the hotel. And you wake up the next day, and then you go out and you got to try to find new sites. Yeah. Cruise ship, you go out, you see the sights at some place, you go back to your hotel. You go to bed. You wake up. You're in a whole new place.
That's such a good way to look
You
at
get
it.
to
I
go
love that.
right. You get to go out and see a whole new world or whatever, and leave all your stuff in your hotel room like you normally do, and then you go back to your hotel room, and then you go to bed and you wake up the next day. It's a brand new place.
Yeah.
You know.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that's I keep saying that Virgin Voyages and other cruise ships need to sponsor this podcast.
Yeah.
As much as I praise cruising on here. My co-host, who I was hoping you get a chance to meet, unfortunately Joe Beth couldn't be with us. He's doing he's having plaster drywall. They're remodeling his house. He was hoping to be with us today, but he was unable to meet it. But he took his first cruise after we started the podcast. And now he's hooked. Yeah, now he's hooked. He's done 2 cruises since we started the podcast. He already has his 3rd, and I think maybe his 4th booked.
Nice. Yeah. You're making me want to go.
I'm saying, look, I'm big on what I'm hoping to do, and I'm hoping that with this podcast and things grow up, that we become big enough to do like a big, sexy digital nomad cruise experience.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Right. And of course that means you're going to get hired on because you are my editor.
Yeah.
Just understand that now, Alexa.
Yes.
Right. And so for all, cruise videos and the fun things, we have that kind of stuff. You'll be our editor, our in-home editor. Right. Yeah. And you'll put that kind of stuff together. Again, I'm trying to build a dynasty here. I'm gonna get all these people together and build this massive thing. And that's yeah. Now, do you get around? Well, let's keep it in California. What is it you love about California?
I like the weather. I like the lack of bugs compared to other places. I have a friend in Missouri. She says she calls it misery, who says that the closest mall to her is like 40 minutes away, and the closest like movie theater is like 50 minutes away. And it's like I can go down the street and there's like 5 things I can do. So I can't imagine living. I know it's not that way like everywhere. That's like Midwest, but there's so many things to do, like literally all on the corner of the 57 freeway. There's the Angel Stadium, there's Honda Center, and there is Disneyland. And so you could literally go to a baseball game, you could go to a concert or a hockey game, and then you can go to Disneyland like all in 3 days. It's all like literally within 5 miles of each other. It's crazy. So that's one of the reasons, is because I am entertained by going out, I guess. And so I don't think I could be entertained if I just had to like go out with friends and like go get dinner, and that was the most that we could do, unless we want to drive like an hour. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, you'd have, and you see, that's how I knew that you and I would get along, because you and I kind of have some of the same sensibilities. Like I am definitely a fan of things being close. That's how I ended up in Vegas.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Because Vegas has all that, but what Vegas doesn't have is the beach.
Oh, the beach, yes.
Right, but it has a lot of pools. Right? And so, as a matter of fact, it was funny. The wife was talking to me about, if we move back to the United States, is there anywhere else in the United States you want to live? Well, no. For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, right? So I think of like, I want entertainment close by. So New York, Chicago, problem, they get cold.
Yeah.
and I am team anti-winter. We both are team anti-winter. So no New York, no Chicago, no Detroit. Right. There's like Louisiana. I don't do hurricanes. I don't do floods. I don't do swamp bugs. I don't do gators. Right. I don't do Florida. So Miami's out. Orlando's out. Right. Yeah. I don't do Texas. A lot of that's more political than anything else.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't go there either. And it's like, no, the only place, the city in the United States that I'd want to live would either be California, and I don't want to live in California, or Hawaii. But Hawaii's crazy expensive. Or Vegas. Because with Vegas, I get all of Vegas, and then when I want a California weekend, I can take a California weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm going against traffic.
True.
Right? And one of my biggest gripes about California is traffic.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, have you ever, did you ever have to go into the new Rockstar's office?
No, I mean, it's pretty far, but I haven't had the chance to go in. It's kind of, it's very out of the way for me if you consider traffic, you know, like,
It
well,
is. That's what I was asking. I was asking
yeah,
if you suffered through
I have not had
the
to do that. No.
good. Yeah, stay remote as much as possible. Although when they go to movie premieres and stuff like that, I'm always hopeful to see a picture of you with them hanging out.
I sometimes invite myself, but a lot of times they're like, "Oh, we already have tickets," or like whatever. I mean, if I invited myself earlier,
right.
I'm sure they'd let me come, but just whatever.
Right. Right. Now, how big is or at least how big was the editing team? Because when we first started talking, you let me know that you weren't the sole editor on those videos. Is that right? Did I have that right? Yeah. So how did that intrigued me? Like, how did that process work?
Yeah. So there's 3 staff editors. So they're the ones who are on payroll for New Rockstars, and then the rest of us are freelance. I want to say there's maybe like 8 or 9 of us, and so the process basically is that the staff editors will assemble the videos, and when we say assemble, we mean like cut out all the pauses and take out anything that the raw footage that shouldn't be there. Then they pass it off to us, right. And we have like shifts. And so one shift is like 8 minutes of videos. I tend to do half shifts because I get burnt out easily and I get bored. So I only do half shifts. And depending on how long the video is, we'll divide it between editors. So if it's an 8-minute video, sometimes only one editor will like be able to finish it on their own. Or if it's longer, they'll split it in half, or depending on the turnaround time. For example, with the Ahsoka episodes coming out recently, they want to get it out as soon as possible. And so they have, even though the video isn't like super long, it's not like 30-40 minutes or anything, we still have like 5 or something editors working on it because we want to get it out the same day. Right. Once the freelance editors are done, we send it back to the staff editors and they review it and they make any changes that they think would be like appropriate. Basically, it's called quality control. And then they right. send it to the host for notes to see if there's anything that the host wants changed. And then, once it gets approved, it's uploaded and that's it. So it's a good process. It brings out good product just because it goes through so many people before it gets published. I think that's why right. the videos turn out so polished. But yeah, so it's a team effort for sure. I don't think I could work on, again, I get like burnt out. I get like over it after maybe like 4 minutes of the video done. So like I tell them like, don't give me a full shift. I don't want
it. Nice. Now, are there other favorite style, like a favorite genre of videos you like doing or creating? Like I know you have your fan edits. I know you're a big Sebastian Stan fan, and believe me, we're going to get into that in a little bit. I know you got to go soon too. But are there any like genre that you really prefer to edit over others?
I love, and I've always suggested this to New Rockstars, like, and offered to do it. I love doing like blooper reels, and like I have some of those on my YouTube when we did do Big Question, like doing outtakes and putting them together. And basically, I guess, because that's kind of what the fan edits are too, is like a highlight reel. So taking clips from an original source and stitching them together for to have like a short form product. And I'm all about, like, you were mentioning before about like how important, like in the same way to me, timing is so important. And so if I were to spend like as much attention and focus and energy on making things perfect on a video that's like 4 or 5 minutes long, I would never finish it. So that's why I like the shorter ones. And that's why I think that's part of my humor, is like the quick cut, like moving on to the next thing. And yeah, I mean, I grew up like watching YouTube. So I think that's kind of partly where my humor comes from. I grew up watching TV, but more so my humor is from like memes and other editors on YouTube. So yeah, those are my favorite ones to do. And hopefully I'll get to do more of them eventually. But right now, just sticking to the regular New Rockstars content.
Cool. Well, I tell you and I, again, I since we did close, and again, like I said, close was so heavy and big, whatever, the next few ones are going to be funny.
Okay.
And light. And I mean, super, super easy, right? And I'm going to give you like complete creative control. Yes. You know, it's like now that you kind of have an idea of sort of what I'm looking for, right? Kind of whatever. I'm going to say have fun.
Okay.
And I'm like, after this, I'm making myself a note right now to send you the 3 poems I'm looking at. And they're stupid. And they're hilarious and like I said, very, very lighthearted. But before we go, the last but not least, I need to know, this has been in my brain since before we met, and since I started noticing your work, and this is what cracked me up the most and really made me interested in you. You have a love of Mr. Sebastian Stan.
I do.
He came up, especially when like during Falcon and Winter Soldier and a lot of the Avengers stuff. Like I noticed, I'm on this editor is that's her that she wants to have his baby.
Yeah.
Where did that fandom? When did that fandom start? And have you had the chance to meet him yet?
Where did it start? I think it started, I really, really started getting into Marvel in 2019. I had watched like the movies previously, like I would say in passing. I used to, and I need to start doing it again. Red Cross, you can give blood, but you can also give platelets. And so when you do platelets, you have a needle in both arms, and it basically takes 2 hours. And so there's blood going in one and then coming out the other. And so we watched a movie during that time. And so that's when I'd watch the Avengers movies. So when I was a teenager, like that's when I was watching the Avengers, but I was never really interested like hardcore until 2019. And so Bucky just was the first character that I latched onto. And, because movies and TV shows only come out like every so often, like there's only so much content you can consume of one character. And so Sebastian is like an extension of Bucky. And so I think that's what got me like, oh, I like this guy. And then like, as I learned more about him, and he like struggles with anxiety and he seems like an introvert, kind of like me, I was like, oh, I really appreciate that about him. And he's talented and he deserves all the success he's been getting. So
agreed.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to meet him yet, but one day maybe.
Yeah. Look, well, I have a surprise for you, Alexa. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, my heart stopped. And it's
if I somehow was able to get Sebastian Stan here in Romania, he's a buddy of mine. I want to keep that a secret to you. No, but he will be soon. Will be, and the work will get noticed. I said we'll have fun with it and we'll create stuff. Well, thank you again for sitting down with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hanging out. And Oh, of course, loved it. And if people want to check you out and catch all your stuff, where can they see you at?
So you can follow me on Twitter. It's Midnight Suns. It's MIDNLGHTSONS. So it looks like Midnight Suns, but the second I is actually an L. And then you can follow my YouTube. It's Alexa the Editor. I can send you the link and it'll be in the show notes probably.
Yeah,
And
I do that
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, check New Rockstars. I'm working on videos there every week, and that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Have a beautiful rest of your day, which is weird because I know your day is just starting and my day is coming to a close.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll chat again soon. Listener, of course, stay tuned to the end of this. What I might end up doing for you, listener, for this episode is I might put the audio of the poem up. All that is a way to entice you to go see the video, to become a Patreon member, and to go see the video. Plus, Joe Beth and I will have some kind of outro, talking like, I'm sure Joe Beth will pretend like he heard this interview, and I will pretend like I remember what we talked about. But I may or may not. I don't know. But in the meantime, Alexa, have a lovely day. Thank you again, and I will talk to you soon.
Yes, thanks for having me. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Yeah, man, that was Alexa the Editor. Her work is incredible. Are you into like nerd properties? Do you like Marvel and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, in general, yes. The time that I have to devote to to actually dive into that, there's a lot of ebb and flow to that, and
Right.
there's
Are you
almost
like are you caught up on all the Marvel stuff? Do you watch like the latest seasons of whatever is released on Disney Plus, or do you catch the movies or whatever?
Let me see. I no. The answer is no. The episode stuff that they've been doing more recently, I'm pretty much way behind on that. Like, I think I may have watched part of a season of WandaVision.
Oh, if WandaVision is the last thing that you
Right.
remember
Yeah,
consuming, then you are definitely way behind.
yeah.
On that
I know
stuff.
that there's like a Loki series. There's probably some other stuff. I think I saw a promo recently for a new season.
Loki season 2.
Right.
Drops drops October 5th.
I haven't touched any of that yet. There are many ways in which certain elements of my life in which things get planned. Simple things like download a bunch of this shit before I get onto a plane so that I can catch up on it, not on that list. So a lot of times if I'm on a plane, I'm only consuming things that are fed through whatever, like if I'm on Southwest, they've got a whole rack of stuff that you can grab. American, very similarly. So I'm usually not watching stuff that's actually downloaded to my device because I haven't planned ahead to download any of it. Which would be the times, cross country flights are really, that's the only way I'm getting a chunk of time to do any of that kind of stuff. So,
if you get a chance and you have brief moments, what I recommend doing is going to YouTube, looking up Alexa the Editor, check out her YouTube channel, watch some of her fan edits, go to New Rockstars, check out they had a series called Big Question. I don't know if it's still on their main page because they're not on 3 separate pages, but they still have access to Big Question, like they're archiving their old videos. Check those out. You'll see what I mean when I say, like, during the videos, as they bring up or they reference other things, like, she is on point with it and hilarious. And then some of her little side commentary in these videos really made them super enjoyable to watch. And I'm only a little bit saddened by the direction New Rockstars has gone, just in the sense that they have lessened the availability and the ability to be as uh, vocal and creative to their editors. Right now, it's a lot more just about getting the basics down, the breakdowns down, all that kind of stuff. So if you can go back and check out some of their older stuff, and like I said in the interview, you know, the mergers with bigger companies and people getting bigger kind of sometimes lessens the awesomeness of the individuals within the products. Because you got to go for those, you know, when the number crunchers kind of come in, they start going, okay, what's making us money? And then that, you know, inevitably lessens random fun vocal shit, because vocal shit, while entertaining, isn't always drawing everybody in to watch the stuff. Though I concur that it does draw some folks in to watch. I mean, hell, it got me, you know, and so I'm a big proponent
for sure.
of stuff. But yeah, Alexa's amazing. So listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in to that interview. I hope you found it enjoyable. And of course, if there's if anybody has any good suggestions of other places in the world that Alexa should visit, since she hasn't really traveled outside of California a whole lot, put those in the comments. Add
Elkton.
those. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely have to get her out to Elkton, Maryland, and get some more of that world experience under her belt. I try to tell her it'll make her a better editor. You know, she'll be able to speak with much more voice and better experiences.
If you haven't been to Elkton, Maryland, you can't say you've traveled the world. It's just that simple.
Well, that's not true. I mean,
well, we'll get you soon. We'll get you soon.
Yeah, I'll be there. I haven't been to Maryland. Maryland is one of the states that I have not been in yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
but again,
you're
remember, before I started this whole journey, a lot of I didn't do a whole lot of traveling. Again, cost, you know, prohibitive. I spend a lot of time working at, you know, shackled jobs that don't really give you allotment for traveling, but to go places. And then when I have the opportunity to go someplace, it's usually for a family reunion, and those are in the southern states, or it's usually, you know, when I was in Vegas, back to California. When I had those kind of opportunities to go other places, I didn't really hop on a plane. I hopped in a car and could go where that car would take me. So, but yeah, Elkton is definitely on my list of places I have to visit.
I mean, the whole state. There's so much here. It's a mini America.
True that. Yeah, you know, and honestly, I thought I was going to be visiting there when I did the Barry White Black Shit Farewell Tour. You know, I really thought that we were going to be able to make it up north and then make our way down the entire eastern side of the U.S. That was my dreams and plans and hopes, but they were dashed due to the cost of travel and the finances therein.
Oh, for sure.
But, you know, we'll make it happen. We'll absolutely make it happen. But yeah, I believe you have some people to thank.
Oh, we always have people to thank. And episodes like this one especially would not be possible if it weren't for the financial support of our patrons. It's not a whole lot of money, but it means a lot to us. And obviously that's a way to get bonus content. You're going to find out in a future episode about some shenanigans that I was involved in. And on that Patreon, you're going to see some video of that shenanigans and why that shenanigans even is. So lots of thanks go out to Angel, to Bree, Chris Lowry, who, for anybody who's interested in traveling, check out alpacamybags.com because Chris and his wife are travel agents. Michael McKenna, Lee Popsicle, Sebastian Robbins, and Joshua Tarr. So thank you guys for supporting us.
Thank
you. You want your name on that list and all of the other benefits that come with it, many of which are still to be revealed and determined. Check out bullwithabutthole.com.
Yeah, go there, sign up to be a Patreon. Yeah, well, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make that noise on cue.
That's right.
Yeah, he doesn't follow, you know, vocal cues. Sometimes you got to give him a little prod.
Just put it right on in there.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll save it for our next episode, the updates about our travel and stuff. But there's some big news coming down the wire, which of course, by the time you hear this, I may have already talked about it because time travel, and I don't know when this will be released in terms of when I talk about what I'm gonna want to talk about. So we'll see where that goes, and that'll come down on the wire later. Podcast time travel, got to have fun with it. But thank you guys for listening. Also, be sure to check out our social medias. Go to @BigSexyNomad on the Instagrams and Twitters, and I think we're on Thread and X or whatever. Just find us and message us and send us some stuff out. We have a contest currently underway.
That's right.
If you reach out and send us a message on any of those platforms, if you send us anything to our Gmail account at bigsexynomad@gmail.com for wrong answers only or a travel story or anything like that, your name will go into a virtual hat. And every time you do it, your name will be added to that hat. So you'll increase your chances to win exclusive tickets.
I'll take it.
You win an exclusive ticket to the Whiskey Barbecue at Jacob the Auto Guy's house for Scoop Fest 2024. A coveted ticket. They sold out damn near instantly because scoops are crazy and insane, and that's a really high item ticket. So you can win one just by engaging with Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Talk about value. That's
Absolutely.
what we give here. But thank you guys for listening. Talk to you later, and safe travels.
Safe travels.
Closed. Doing a check-in with my emotions in an emotional time, recognizing that feelings of grief and anxiety can manifest itself in physical aspects. I respect myself enough to inspect the effects of the disrespect that elements of society place upon the concept that Black Lives Matter. How does that affect my daily connect to associates of a different racial construct? I don't feel the need to instruct anymore. That constant request is becoming a bore. It's becoming a chore. That muscle is sore, and you're not listening. That part of the equation is what's missing. We keep listing the names of the soul siblings whose lives are now missing simply because they look different than the authority. Realizing I look different than the authority. So that produces grief and anxiety. And the reality is, I'm exhausted trying to explain that to friends. Captain Obvious is at sea again, and we see again. They're killing me again and again and again. And I'm tired of explaining why I'm tired. How are you not tired? When do you stop asking and start taking action? Start tasking the authority with policing themselves, which starts the inevitable journey down the path of history. And the history of the authority is they have been given the authority with no authority over them. It was, and still is, their job to hold dominion over the darker skins. Keep them slaves in line again and again. And that line isn't as blurred as we would hope. It wasn't emancipated. It isn't eradicated, but predicated in the mounting evidence that Black lives don't matter as much. So your response that all lives matter is out of touch and frankly, disrespectful. Because frankly, no they don't. See, that last sentence finds existence from a mountain of evidence. The continuously growing list of names of our soul siblings whose lives are missing. Again, here you are asking why. Why are we angry? Why do we lash out? Why do we shout? Well, the answer is there in the most common of anecdotes. Closed mouths don't get fed. So we shout. Feed us equality. Feed us justice. Feed us as you feed yourself. But that means you have to acknowledge that your food is different and expose the lie that we all eat the same. See, we don't want you to eat what we are eating now. We don't want to feed you the injustice, the disparity, the Jim Crow laws, the unprovoked killings, the lynchings, the disproportionate incarceration, the final desperation, or the lack of political and social representation. Closed mouths don't get fed. We tried silence, and you shouted at us. We raised our fists, and you shouted and hit us. We sat at counters, and you shouted and threw food on us. We knelt, and you shouted and called us traitors and thugs and tried to force us to stand. Well, we can't stand it anymore, so now we shout again. Feed us equality. Feed us justice. Feed us as you feed yourself. And you seem confused. That confusion comes from a lack of understanding. You're not listening. You haven't listened. You hear with a closed, privileged mind, but closed minds don't get educated. Closed eyes will never see, and closed lives feel safe and secure. But not all lives are safe and secure. So not all lives matter. So we shout, Black Lives Matter. Open up.